Crunch time beckons for a federal transportation bill future as it nears a so-called fiscal cliff. Fiat seeks to combine with Case New Holland. A federal rule on disabled hiring quotas raises questions, and sustainability in asphalt pavement helps to stretch highway spending. That and more on Construction News Tracker, brought to you by Caterpillar and produced by 4constructionpros.com. June 30th is the deadline for the latest in a string of extensions to reach agreement on a federal transportation infrastructure funding bill. Both houses of Congress have been meeting in conference daily since early May to reach a compromise that appears to be elusive. Coupled with the latest unemployment report that saw only 69,000 jobs created in May, there's even more pressure to find a political resolution. 4constructionpros.com reached out to Chief Economist Ken Simonson at AGC to get his opinion of the debacle, specifically what he believes may occur if there is no agreement reached by June 30th.
If we had nothing, you'd have an immediate drop. Highway spending runs at about an $80 billion annual rate, and nearly half of that money comes from the federal government. Then there's also a significant amount of transit construction money, most of which comes from the federal government. If we had no further funding, all of that federal share would drop, would be cut out, and states and localities, for the most part, would be cutting way back.
In the event no deal can be reached, what's the effect of another extension?
An extension at current rates, then highway employment is likely to stay perhaps level, but as costs go up, contractors will be forced to squeeze back. The only scenario that would work in terms of keeping highway employment up is if we get a longer-term bill with more spending, more money allowed for spending.
Mr. Simonson also believes there will be no change from previous predictions of a 2.5% growth rate in the GDP. However, he voices optimism for the construction industry in general as it moves forward.
Overall, construction is getting a little bit better, but it's very fragmentary and fragile. That is, not all segments are benefiting. Specifically, public construction spending is declining now. Private, both residential and non-residential, are growing, so total construction spending in the first 4 months of this year was up 6 or 7% from last year, and I think we'll continue to see growth in the high single-digit, maybe even double-digit rates for the year as a whole, and that would be the first improvement since 2006. So that's great news. But it's not hitting all segments, it's not hitting all parts of the country, and it's not going to show up every single month. The other bit of good news is on materials costs. We've seen materials costs go up much more than other kinds of prices for either consumers or other types of business since the low point was hit in early 2009. That's now reversed.
Again, our appreciation to Ken Simonson for offering his views on our industry. Fiat Industrial Group, which owns 88% of Case New Holland, wants to merge its holdings. In a letter to investors, the Italian-based company says the move is a logical one, following its separation from its automotive group, which also owns Chrysler Corporation. It's also seen as a key economic decision to improve the group's access to financing and move away from the European fiscal crisis. Contractors doing federal business under the Contract Compliance Program will be required to have all job applicants labeled as disabled under a new proposal from the Labor Department. The construction industry is up in arms as a result. The edict seeks to impose a minimum 7% disabled hiring quota, and it could dramatically escalate hiring costs. Companies failing to meet the regulation could be banned from further federal contract work. The Asphalt Pavements Technical Conference is set for later this month in Cincinnati. Tight budgets are just part of the discussions on the agenda, and the innovations as sustainable practices being used by the industry are going a long way in helping municipalities and road builders alike make their dollars go further. The use of recycled materials as well as new warm mix asphalt combinations are seen as a highlight of the two-day conference. This is Construction News Tracker, watching out for the industry that makes the world a better place. Brought to you by Caterpillar and produced by 4constructionpros.com. Access us anytime at facebook.com/4constructionpros or at Twitter, where we can be shared with friends using #ConstructionNews, as the streaming web never ends.